Welcome back to another video. So in this video, I'm going to talk about my program that I made for my computer science class. And this program is about learning how to do Morse code, right? Learning how to read and understand Morse code. Uh, Here's a sample of the game. So, right, you have this tab in the left top corner, right? It teaches you how to play, right? The rules, right? And you click start, and it emphasizes that audio is needed for this program. So, right, and then you hear a sequence of binary, it's letters, and you can replay the sound, right? And you also have a score, so it motivates the user to keep playing and to keep trying, right? To like try to get their have the highest score. The user can submit, and it tells them if nothing's filled in to fill in the text box or numbers are filled in. Please only submit one character. If we submit that, right? And then reference sheet. The users have a reference sheet to look back at. Right. This is your English alphabet and then Morse code. Right. And then you come back here and you can play it. So yeah, in this video, I'll talk about how to make this code and how it works and why it works. So yeah, let's get into it. Before we start, I want to clarify that these are the imports that you will need for this program. So make sure you have them imported. Okay, so now moving on to the whole code as itself. So to start off with this whole program, you should start off by creating the screen. So I use Tinker, right, to create my screen. I did use Turtle, but then I found out that it had certain limitations that I didn't like. So then I switched to Tinkers. But yeah, so the geometry I made a 700 by 700. This creates like a square, right? Yeah. So then this image, I created this image through a Google Sheets, and I basically just created the Morse code sequence for every letter. You could find one online and download it that way, but because I didn't want to reference someone or I guess like give credit, but I didn't use the image off the internet. Rather, I created my own, so it was easier. Just like I didn't have to give any credit. Okay, and then line 16, right? We see false, false, right? This prevents the user from maximizing or minimizing the screen because I found that when you had the screen out, right, when you maximize it, you would have everything else would just be like plain white, and only a certain portion of the whole screen would be the actual game. And to prevent the user from maximizing or adjusting the page, you use this line of code. Okay, the next thing is I set a variable equal to 0, right? This is where you see that variable on the actual main game itself. And then the main component of this whole program is this list or dictionary or map, if you will. And basically, what this map is a list of lists. So, for example, if I called on list zero, right? I called it on index 0, right? It gives me this whole thing, this whole array, and then now I can call between 0 and 1. 0 is the letter, the English letter, and 1 would be the Morse code sequence. So if I was to say index 0 of this list, it would give me this whole thing, and then now I have this saved into a variable, random character, right? Um, it chooses one of these randomly, and then I can separate it through a different character. So here you can see me, I call on index 0 of this variable. So it is randomly selected from this list. So the program randomly selects one of these one of these lists. For example, it'll select F, right? And then it saves this array into this variable random character. And then random character is then separated or divided into two separate things, the English letter and then the Morse code sequence. And then this will be significant for the rest of the program, as we'll use this to verify that the user is correct and to play the audio itself. Okay, and then getting into the audio, this is I use a Pi game to create the audio. I use this right. So I use a function for my dot. So this is where you hear a quick sound, and then a dash, which is a more longer duration of a sound. You can find this here. Wait, let me pull it up. So yeah, you could find these audios on this link, morsecode.world/international/translator html, and you can input E, and then this will give you your dot audio, and then you can click right here, save audio, and then it will download it. You can also just and then put T for your dash audio, and then once again save audio, and then you can name them so you know what is the dash and what is the dot. Okay, and then you'll upload them to your I guess your folder up here, and then you can call it right here in your function, and then play. The reason you should put it in a function is so that you can, because you'll use this audio multiple times. For example, in J, we see that there's three dashes, right? Having a function allows us to just call the function again and again and again, repeatedly, whenever we want to, rather than type in the segment of code over and over and over every time there's a dash. Rather, we can just quickly call it, right? That's why functions are efficient, and that's why you should have learned about functions, um, and their significance. And now we're creating a page. This is your instructions page. This is your page when you clicked on that left corner. So here I called my function how to play, and this still uses Tinker, right? So I still have my width and height 700. Created a square. I called it frame two. Right, I use this, and then here I use your placement, so you can change, like adjust where you want it to be. Right, your XY coordinates, and then here I created a button, so you can transition between the home, and when the home button is pressed, it plays the function main screen, and then you'll see that later on. And here it calls on this function, and it uploads this screen itself. Okay, and then on the actual main page, though, you'll see a text. It tells you the purpose of this game, how to play it, and what the users can do. Here I adjust the color in red, the font type, and then the font size, and I adjusted the position of the text box. And you may see that this text box looks a bit different than your usual text box. That's because this uses three quotations. Using three quotations allows me to sort of like line it rather than just having one long line of a paragraph, right? So I can have it set like this. So I can, in a way, layer, if you will. Okay, moving on to the reference page. This is where you go to get assistance on a certain binary sequence. So if you're lost, you can come back to this. This is also where we'll see this image now come into place, where you can look back and see like if it's an A and in the Morse code sequence. Okay, and here you see I call on the variable so I can see it. I also position the image right here again, label 3, right? The position, this sets it to the right side because you can see our x value is higher, so meaning it's going to be more on the far right. And okay, and then right, our screen, our label, how to use a reference sheet. So this is like basically my header. And then this is the instructions. And once again, we see that three quotation marks are used to actually give instructions to the users on how to use it and what it means. And then here we see another button to go back to the main game, right? And then if the user wants to go back to the home page, they can go from the main game, which will bring from the main game. There'll be a home button, which will bring them to the main home page, and that's the screen for the reference page. And now on to the main component of the thing. So yeah, here we see this is where we get the starting page, if you will. Um, right, your frame. Right, notice how there's no number because this is the main frame. Right, and then we see click slash start to begin, and the reason this has like I guess slash marks is because if I wasn't to do this, if I was not to do this, then it would not work as a string. But doing this tells the program that start itself is not a string, but is a part of the string. So, right, you have the start. This tells you to actually click, and it emphasizes start, like to click the actual start button that you will see right here. Uh, yep, it's the frame is in blue, right? And then you see the title of the game, as it's in the biggest font size out of every text box from the home screen. And then here's the emphasis that audio is required for this program. Okay. Right, and then here's your start button that will bring you to the main game. So the main game is right here, and this is if it wasn't for this, this would not work. So you could also argue that this is probably one of the most significant part of the program, but this is the game of the program, and I believe it should take it takes most of the program. I think it's a bit more than half of the whole code itself. And all right, so this is the function for the main screen of the page. Okay, and then as we see, this uses iterations. So in here we see obviously my global called variables, the variables we called from the beginning of the program that we separated our array into two separate things or two separate entities. Right, and then here's the score. Right, you'll use the score plus the string, which is the number. Right, so score is itself is concrete. It won't change. While this is static, it can change. Okay, we see we changed the frame is in white, so the screen itself is white. Okay, and then here's where I was talking about. So if you're in the reference page back here, it only brings you to the so you can go back to the main game when you click the back button to go to the game, and then from there on you're on this screen, and then the user can go back home. Okay, the button is yep. So then play sound. So this is like replay the sound. Then it will call in the command play game. So it will recall this whole thing. And then this is the part where I wanted to say like if you are recreating this code, I would like to see someone make it to where it doesn't call back onto the function itself, but rather it just calls back onto this function. I believe I tried calling this function itself, but I don't think it works. So I decided to just end up by calling the whole function again, which just basically refreshes the whole page and plays the sound forcibly. Um, so if you are remaking this game, I would like to see someone retry it and change it by adding like its own twist, right, or an improvement through that improvement if you are willing. Okay, and then from there on, you have the home button, and you also have the reference button, so you can click back and forth between the reference page and the game page. And then here is our variable that calls onto a function. Um, so yeah, doing this will allow us to iterate. So this whole thing iterates through the letter that we solved, or through the Morse to the Morse code sequence, right? So for every dot we see, we play the dot audio, and then we pause for a bit and then play the dot audio. Because if we didn't have this pause, it sounds like a big union where it's like hard to pick out whether it's a dot or a dash. So having this makes it eligible for the user to understand the difference between a dot and a slash. You could also make it more obvious by slowing down the dash audio, and it makes it much easier to like, oh, that's definitely the dash audio. I believe back on the home website that I showed where you can download the dash and dot audio, I believe you can adjust the speed. Right. Okay. So then this does it for just that one single character. So like on the first, right. So this whole thing, right. This itself is a list too, right? So on the first iteration, it just checks this part, like that dot. And then it checks, is it a dot or dash? And if it's a dot, it plays the dot audio. If it's a dash, it plays the dash audio. And then we try again and then move on to the next. And then we move on to the next and next until we conclude the list. And after that's all done, right? That plays all the audio, the whole thing. Okay. And then we have a text box, and then we have this function that delays a thing because when I didn't have it, um, right, the screen before hearing the audio and runs smoothly, right, it delays it, right. It was probably I say probably because I haven't really touched this code in a while, I will admit, but it still works to this day. But yeah, you can it slows this down so it actually works and it's actually eligible to understand. And then here is so if the user gets the right, we'll see if user's correct, right? But first, I'll define these functions. So this function creates a new character, right? So then we'll randomly call another um, array from this map again. Um, there is a possibility that it can be the same one too. So if you are like using this code, you could also adjust it to where it's not repetitive and you can actually reach the certain score, a certain high score, and then it resets and you start with the whole alphabet all over again, rather than having the possibility of doing B and B over and over again. And then right here, we check. So if the user's answer correlates with, right, so the user answer is what they put inside the text box. And then if that matches up with what the actual answer is, right, so if the user's answer is correct, then it tells them correct. And then and then it results in a new function. It calls on the character, right? We see this here happen. Um, But yeah, so basically this has a text box. It sets it up and it saves the user's input into this variable. So if you put in a user underscore a answer is equal to a, and it's saved as a. And then we go back to here, right? Not this character because this is the function, but we go back up here, and then it says, okay, is a equal to character? And then if it is, then the user is correct, and then they get a then the user is correct. It tells them that in a green text box. It tells them the right. It checks, okay, and then it calls back up, and then they're given a new character, and then it iterates once again, right, iterating to let them know that they got a newly randomly selected character. And yeah, and then if they are right, and then it also updates the scoreboard. All right, scoreboard is updated, and it refreshes it. I made sure to have it at the same placement so it's not like appearing in random places every time you score 1 point. However, here's where as a programmer you gotta think about every possible outcome. So if yeah, thinking of every possible outcome avoids bugs, errors, and glitches. Uh, so yeah, else I thought about users possibly putting no answer, and the program checks if there's nothing, if there's no value inputted, then the program will tell them to fill in the text box, and then after the timer, it will destroy the text box and it will disappear. And then another possibility is if the user tries to input multiple characters. So they try to put A, B, C, D, and they're trying to see if one of those responses will be correct. And doing this, the program will tell them to only submit one character. Right? It checks the length of the user's answer. Is it greater than one? If it is, it tells them to not to submit only one character. And if they decide to put in anything but a letter, anything that is not in the alphabet, in the English alphabet, then it will tell them to submit a letter, specifically just a letter, right? Not a number, not a punctuation mark, a letter. If all else does not check out, then it will just tell them incorrect and try again. So that's another thing. The users don't have a penalty. They can keep on trying and trying and trying all over again, however many times they want. Okay, and then here's our final button that tells them to submit. To submit their answers to check if their answer is correct, and if it is, then it will run the check answer variable. So this is this or yeah, it will run this function, and then it will check, verify, save the user's answer into the user answer, the variable, and then check if it's equal, then it's correct. It selects a new random character and it iterates, right, and then um, yeah, that's pretty much it. Um, this works because you can't have it below or over this specific function. It needs to be down here. Um, oh wait, no, my bad. Sorry. This function is that the user doesn't have to manually press or manually click submit, but they can rather put in a letter, like let's say B. They can put in B and then just click enter, and then enter is verified as a click, and then it works. And then we call the whole screen, the main screen, as a function. We call the basically we're calling the whole thing, right? And then we loop it, and then doing all that should produce you this code that we see right here, right? How to play. You can change up this. You don't need to copy my text verbatim. Codex Morse, start to begin, right? Yeah. Um, Please, if you're gonna use my code, just give me some credit. Um, you can even just mention my channel. That'll be very helpful. But yeah, if you like this video, make sure to subscribe, like. If you have any questions, I'll make sure to answer them in comments. But yeah, anyways, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. I could really use the subscribers. I appreciate all the help, all the likes, and yeah, thank you for watching.